It says we're live. So welcome everyone to our April meeting of the Athens Municipal Arts Commission. I'm Beth Braun, and I am sitting in for our chair and president, Chelsea, who is a little under the weather today, unfortunately. So I will officially call this meeting to order at 5:31. And we'll begin with legislative updates from Andrew Chicky and Jeff Risner. Andrew, do you want to start?
Well, I'll keep it short and simple. I don't have any legislative updates for you this evening that I know of. I could be mistaken, but I don't have any on my calendar or any notes advising to that.
Easy peasy. We like easy. Thank you. Jeff, do you have anything?
Nothing comes to mind. Some ideas have been being kicked around by the mayor a little bit. He'll toss out an idea, see how it flies, and see if there's any enthusiasm about it. But yeah, until he speaks before council about a project, I don't have anything to talk about.
Got it.
Beth, I have something.
Okay.
I would like for you to add to the agenda to address art outside the box, because I spoke with Steve about that today and it's ready to go for the next round. So that would be 4IVD.
Okay. Give me just a second here. And I appreciate you telling me exactly where it is.
Mm-hmm.
I am juggling multiple devices here, so if you'll bear with me. Okay. And here. So, okay, it would be for which?
D.
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 Yes. Okay. And let me see if I have, I'll open with Google Docs so I can officially add it to this. Okay, 4D, got it. Can do. Okay. There's an item here, and I'm really sorry about my dog. There's an item on the agenda. It says updated terms of service. I'm not sure what that is in reference to. Does anybody know?
I know.
Okay.
What it is somebody was looking into a document that has everybody's terms when they end. And I think it was Chelsea. Then she got shot, and so life moves on slowly.
Right.
So I think that's what happened. It's fine to deal with it next month.
Okay. So then we'll move forward. The minutes from March 10th, Josh, let's see. They have been sent around, so we're really just looking for approval.
I did change the spelling of Terry's name. I had misspelled it 2 or 3 times. I spelled it with a Y instead of an I. And then I think there's one other small change that I made that Chelsea pointed out.
Okay.
The formatting looked odd.
Oh, yeah. She wants me to use Microsoft Word. So I'll conform. I can do that for you people.
Okay. Okay, so let's see. Do I have a motion to accept the minutes with those minor adjustments as described by Josh?
So moved.
Okay, Jeff, do I have a second?
Kelly.
Kelly, thank you, Kelly. Seconded by Kelly. Terrific. Okay. Moving on, let me go to the next one. Okay, so let's see. We've got an Arts West Arts of APRD update.
Do we have Emily?
I'm looking. Do we? We may not.
I didn't see her.
No.
I don't see her either. So I guess we will have to move on from that one as well. We can move that to next month.
Although most of it is on the agenda. See, on the next page under Arts West, it tells everything that's happening.
Yeah. Why do I feel like I'm not looking at the same agenda that you're looking at?
Well, I'm looking at this scripted agenda.
Oh,
Did you
okay.
not print that out?
I did not print that out.
Would you like me to read to you the Arts West?
Why don't you go ahead and do that?
Okay. Updates from Emily Beveridge.
Perfect.
Crafternoon classes meet on Mondays, currently full through May at Arts West. For the Love of Athens photo show is on display at the Community Center Gallery through the end of May. Armory Park. Arts West work study Paula Atfield will be hosting a community art making activity called Arts at Armory Park on Saturday, April 24th from 12 to 6 p.m. Community members can stop by the park to make banners, which will be hung and displayed in the park during spring. Passion Works will be hosting a sale of the Honey for the Heart puppets on Saturday, April 24th, 10 till 6. Arts West, specifically the 4th annual Cat Art Show, is currently on display through the end of April, when it will then move to Casa Nueva for the month of May. Over 60 pieces of cat art were submitted to the show. The Circle Collaborative Art Show will be on display at Arts West in the month of May. Afternoon art ceramic classes will begin their second unit starting this week on Tuesdays and Thursdays. Southeast Ohio Musical Lending Library is offering free instrument lending to all community members in April to celebrate Jazz Appreciation Month.
All right. Okay, thank you. And now I've got myself reorganized on my multiple devices. Thank you, Carol, for...
Can you see it now, Ben?
Yes, thank you.
Excellent.
Okay, moving on to item 4, ongoing public projects. The first listed is the Athens Arts Alliance, formerly known as Friends of Arts West. Chelsea gave me an update to report. She said the group has decided to alter the path by becoming a 501c3 that is going to focus on the arts, culture, and racial equity. We're still in the early stages, but we are working on getting a board together and the materials required to apply for the nonprofit status. We're hoping this alliance, which is the working title, will help bring local organizations together and help provide them with the JEDI, as she calls it, which is Justice, Equity, Diversity, and Inclusion tools to provide more inclusive and accessible programs and opportunities. So actually, I think that's a good way to frame it. And it takes a while, I think, for these things to sort of flesh themselves out. And personally, I think that sounds like the right way to go. Anybody have anything you'd like to add to that or discuss? No? Yes, Jeff.
I'd like to see a specific mention of an educational component, art education in a broad sense, not just art techniques or crafts, but also history, culture, various forms of art. That just Athens is a very cosmopolitan place. We have all kinds of examples. I've seen it around town, but never in one place of like African, Asian, European, Northern European, Southern European arts, American, regional, that sort of thing. I think that would be something that would be very useful and interesting for people. We have a massive talent here of people from all over the world who are very familiar with different art forms, styles, cultures, and so on that could educate it. I mean, I certainly need educated. So.
And Jeff, my sense is that it's implied, given that they say the focus is on the arts, culture, and racial equity, and then specifically goes on to say about justice, equity, diversity, and inclusion.
Right.
But I think that your point of making sure that it's not just implied, but more clear that it includes the education piece. I think that is. I bet they'd be open to that. I think it makes a lot of sense just to make it more clear.
Right. Well, if not, okay. But I think I come from an educational background, and I see education everywhere.
Yeah. And all of these people that she's been connecting with on this are very much of that.
Yes.
Orientation as well. I think it's one of those things where it because you're you're with the people and you kind of forget that not everybody knows what you know. So okay, good, Josh. I saw you nodding, so you must have gotten that in the minutes. Perfect. Thank you. Okay. So next item is the community center mural, and that would be me. So we're at a pretty exciting point now in that most of the teachers are this week, as a matter of fact, are painting with their students. This is a good week for teachers to paint in multiple schools because it begins testing week for standardized testing. It's basically started this week and it runs through the first week of May. So I think several of the art teachers felt like when the kids come to them, they're going to be brain dead from, doing the tests. So when they come to them, this is a great time to do it. So several teachers are doing it this week. I know one teacher is starting the week of the 26th, but I think otherwise most are starting this week and or next. So the distribution of paint and the mural pieces, all of that is out with the exception of one who is just been swamped and isn't starting till the 26th anyhow. So that's been sort of fun. Finally getting to see the teachers in person, and we take off our masks to smile at each other and say, oh, this is what you look like. I mean, we've seen each other on the screen, but to see each other in person and distributing the paint. So I think the biggest challenge I'm finding has been guesstimating the right amount of paint, especially when you're dividing it up among this many pieces. I know that I have more than enough paint to cover that mural, probably twice at least, maybe a third time, technically, right? Because of how much a can of paint should cover. But, the inevitable waste and everything like that, and people needing a smaller amount of this and a bigger amount of that. So Andrew is hearing for the first time, as I say it right now, that we may not have gotten it perfect. I may have to go back and get a little more paint. But on the other hand, I wish it was easier to exchange, but of course you can't. So I was very pleased, though, the folks at Sherwin-Williams here in town were very good to work with and seemed to give us pretty darn good pricing, I think. At least he told me he did. So So yeah, so it's an exciting time. And, you know, of course, now it's hitting all of us too, as they're working on it. Like, how are, you know, are we, because all of the images have outlines, we agreed that they were all going to have outlines, and that's how it was printed. So are we going with a standard width on the outlines, like a 3/4 inch brush, or are we going to follow what's, you know, what was put in the ghost image on the mural cloth itself? A lot of different little things like that that we're kind of negotiating. So it'll be really interesting when they come back together to see, okay, we're probably going to have touch-up work to do, you know, to make it kind of all even out. But it's been great. And the enthusiasm, again, you know, from the teachers and the students, I've asked them to take some pictures while the kids are doing the painting. And one of the things I did not include, Andrew, as part of the phases that I kind of divided the project into was a mention of making a point to make some media connections about this so that we get a little bit of a write-up or something about it. I'd like more of the world to know that this is happening. So it's going good. Any questions? Yes, Jeff.
When are you all out there? What time of the day and when and stuff?
We're not painting on the wall. When we first started meeting in January, as you'll recall, cases were skyrocketing at that time.
Oh, sure.
Yeah, and between the COVID restrictions as well as the safety issues and the transportation issues and so on and so forth. So the mural cloth, 8 feet by 29 feet, was divided into 8 sections.
I see.
Okay. And so they've taken those sections back to their schools with the paint to do the work there. And then what we have to do is we have to then get those mural sections adhered using an acrylic gel to these aluminum panels. And then the panels get mounted on the wall.
Right.
Yep.
Well, definitely the Athens Messenger should know something about this. So
yeah, I need to make a plan for that and just get the seed planted with them and then figure out if maybe they can be in touch with some of the teachers and kids as they're involved in the project. So
yeah, more publicity, the better.
Yeah. Okay, next item on the agenda, item C, key to the city. Kelly, what do you have to say?
Well, I am stuck. I am unable. I have an artist who is very willing and able to do the project, but we are not getting any response from the mayor. He asked me the artist asked me questions, and I send them on to the mayor, and I don't get any response. So I don't know what to do. I can't move forward until I find out exactly what he wants.
Okay. Is the plan still that you're going, the artist is going to sort of create a replica of that older key?
Yeah,
okay.
His big question is he's not sure what the material is going to be, how many need to be made, by when they need to be made.
Sure.
It's just, I don't know if he's going to get a copy of it that he's going to be able to replicate, or he needs to just replicate it from the image that he received in an email. So there are a lot of open-ended questions with the project.
So Kelly, if you have those specific questions, if you can send those to me, I can make sure that I can get those routed and get answers back to you.
Okay, terrific. Thank you, Andrew.
Yeah, you know where he is.
I've seen him around.
Yeah.
All right.
Yeah, I understand the mayor's probably really busy and too busy to deal with this. I just need
he's never too busy.
Okay.
That's what mayors are for, to abuse.
Yeah.
Okay. Thank you, Kelly. Anything else? Sorry.
Nope, that's it.
All good? Okay, terrific. So then we added item D, which was art outside the box.
Yes, in talking with the mayor today, he said, please inform AMAC that it's time to select the first or the next 10 artists for art outside the box. And that the money is allocated, all squared away. And so
I thought we were doing it every 2 years. Because we did the last selection just prior to everything closing down last year.
And have those all gone up, Kelly?
No, they haven't gone up yet.
well, while you're asking him questions, you might put this, because he's allocated the money in this year.
Really?
My understanding was that the money that was allocated was for the installation of last year's. We made the selections last year, but we haven't installed them yet. So there might be some wires there.
I thought that was in the 2020 budget, that because where we came up with part of the money was from the Arts Festival that didn't happen.
Well, the 2020 budget should have been paying for the money that went to our individual artists for their.
Right. That is correct.
But I didn't think we had decided to hang any of the wraps until this year.
Andrew?
Yeah,
Out.
so you're both right in a certain way. So, am I diplomatic? Yeah. Oh, you're both. Yes, we allocated and were able to find money in 2020 out of the music festival money that we had set aside. That was used to pay for the artists, but we did not have enough to pay performance signs for the installation part. So we sent all that information and all those packets to performance, but the 2021 budget is where we allocated funding for the installation part. So that installation has not happened yet.
Okay. So where we went off the rails with the mayor is I said to him in the conversation, so you want us to put together a new committee for the next round? And he said, yes. So I misunderstood what he was saying. He obviously misunderstood what I was saying. It's all good. I think we're fine.
Okay.
Okay. Okay, I think we're ready to move on to Roman numeral 5 on the agenda, ongoing commission business. Item A is Josh talking about the mural walk, the MAP Athens project.
Yes. So I just sent you in the chat a list, but I would like that a list of additional murals that we could include from Keith Wild. He gave me a list of most of the murals that he had been a part of or created. Additionally, I got a few more from Ann Judy and one or two other AMAC members. So what I thought we could do is I could share my screen. We can look at these lists of murals together and pull from these two lists that I've got and make maybe our master list of what we want our mural walk to be. Does that sound like a good plan?
Josh, is anybody else seeing in the chat the list that he said he posted? I'm not seeing it.
Okay, it's not going through. It said it's sent. So thanks, Zoom, for that. But let me just share my screen.
Sure.
Yeah. Let's see here. Okay. So can you see these two lists up on the screen?
Yes.
Yes.
Yep.
Okay, so this list on the left, the architecture and installations, Ohio University murals and around town sections, these are currently murals that are on the MAP Athens art stroll tour. So they're already up there, but we want to make a dedicated mural tour. We can include these in our dedicated mural tour, but we also want to make sure we're including plenty of other murals that we have. Others that I've got here that we thought of adding, there are a bunch in Nelsonville that Ann Judy gave to me here, like the wastewater treatment plant mural that we worked on just a few years ago. The murals in Gloucester and Albany. Some of these, perhaps one thing we want to consider is whether we have enough information about that mural to include it in a mural walk. They do want to have some contextual information about each mural. So who the artist is, what's the story behind it, when was it painted, for example. So if we know of a mural, but we just can't find any information about it, that might be grounds for not including it. Mm-hmm. But I'm open to, if you just think it's a great mural and we don't know anything about it, we could still argue for inclusion.
Mm-hmm. I think there's something to be said for, so that we can be consistent on the app where you're talking about, a bit of the background of the mural. I mean, we can always say unknown, I suppose, but as much as we can, I'm thinking we should, include that information and focus on those that we really know the history of. Mm-hmm. Chelsea had a few others, and I'm trying to look and see if I have them, or if you have them, excuse me, on your list. If I read these to you real quick, you can perhaps tell me quickly if you have them already.
Yeah, go ahead.
Okay, so now she actually has the pharmacy mural, not the one, because isn't there one on the side of the building that's sort of underneath the ledge? This is not the same as the one that's between the wine shop and pharmacy.
There is a small mural there.
Yeah.
Yeah, it starts at the pharmacy and goes all the way over to the market, right?
No, that's a different mural.
We're talking about a different one? Okay.
So this is actually up by the door.
Yeah, it's up by the door, I think.
Okay.
She also mentions 24/7 Dreams mural on Stimson. I always thought that had something to do with the the proposed shop that was going to go in there, the proposed facility that was of questionable background. Do you know what I'm talking about?
There was a shop in there for a short while, right? And
yeah, they relocated. 24/7 Dreams was kind of like clothing and style.
Okay.
And they relocated to Union Street at one point. I don't know if they're still up there or not.
Okay.
Kind of like where Hoffa's was.
Yeah. Okay. So maybe that doesn't necessarily count. Maybe that one gets a question mark, because it was more, it sounds like it was more of signage than necessarily a mural. Yeah. She also mentioned the turtle mural on Court Street.
Okay.
I'm not sure where that one is on Court.
Yeah, I don't know.
We could put a question mark by that. She mentions the International mural near Donkey. And again, these must be smaller ones because they don't pop out in my mind either. Mm-hmm. And there are some private murals, of course, on the Near East Side. Like on May Street, there are a couple. There's sunflowers, and there's a teapot. And then on Mill Street, actually, that music house on Mill Street, I think that was a collaborative project. And I think it was done, it's right there at the corner, like when you come out of the back of Siegfried, you know?
Yeah.
Or you go in to go to the parking lot there's that house that has the music sort of painting on it, or mural. So those were some that she mentioned. We probably need a little more, because even Andrew, it looks like you're curling your brow a little bit. Can you think of the turtle mural, what she's referencing?
Don't recall the turtle mural.
Yeah. Or the International mural near Donkey.
The international mural there was on Congress on the left-hand side, on the side of like an apartment.
Yeah. Isn't it pretty faded right now?
Well, I haven't noticed it, and I drive by there every day.
Yeah. Okay. So it's really more on Congress. And it's sort of behind Donkey then, right?
Right.
Yeah. Okay. I know
We have some private ones over here on the west side of Athens too.
Oh, that's true. What do we think about putting the private ones on there? Maybe we shouldn't even be.
Yeah, if they're visible from public space, people can see them if they were to go on a tour. But there is that question of, do we want people driving around to homes and neighborhoods and looking at murals?
Well, I view it no differently than the Athens garden tour that we used to have, where people could, there's a list and you could go by and see these people's private properties. Obviously, those individuals signed up to be on the list. I don't know if it would take reaching out to the property owner for permission to include them on the list. But I see a lot of value in including those pieces. I think that it adds to the overall fabric of Athens.
Yeah.
I hired an artist to paint a mural on my garage, and I did that so people could see it. So, I mean,
yeah,
I think that murals are kind of something that you do so people can see them.
Yeah. I think your inclination, Andrew, to contact the residents just to say, hey, we'd like to include this. I mean, it's viewable from a public street. In a way, you're just sort of almost notifying them.
Yes.
Yeah, I think that's a good idea. I think people will be pleased to be part of.
And there may be some, though, that say, I don't want my mural on the list. Maybe they bought the house after the mural went up. You know what I mean? Or,
Yeah.
Well, in that case, they better paint the house. I mean, if it's like Andrew says, or Josh, that if it's viewable from public space, from city streets or city right-of-ways, it's fair game. Now, they can fume and fuss and make threats all you want, but if you want to take a picture of it, there's absolutely nothing legally they can do about it.
I understand. I think where if you did have someone who is resistant, it may be that, sure, if you happen upon it, I'm fine with that. I just don't want my house included on a list.
Yeah. Right. No, I agree 100%. If you're going to go to a private, a person or business and say, hey, I'd like to have it on, this is what we're doing and that, and so on. They say, no, I don't want to be involved. Well, we say, fine, thank you very much. And you walk away.
Yeah.
And no harm's done.
Yeah.
Now, if on the other hand, if someone drives by and looks at it, well, that's up to them. So.
Josh, you might want to add the mural, the level 42 mural that Keith is going to be working on with Carol.
Definitely. He's got that right here on his list.
Oh, okay. I didn't see that. I'm sorry.
Oh, no worries. Yeah, there are a lot of murals. And there's more actually down below here. These are murals that he's collaborated. He's collaborated with clients or other painters or people. And they were painted in collaboration with other people, planned in collaboration. So
Nice.
he's got quite a few. Yeah.
Oh, the truth. Yeah.
I see my flower on bench is on there. There's also a mural on the retaining wall, same address. Number 3.
Number 3.
Yeah, that's my house.
Oh, yeah.
So there's an additional mural that's on your retaining wall, Carol?
Yes.
Oh.
Can we go look at it?
Yes.
If you can find your way up there.
Right. That's what I get is this is a huge walking route, and people stop me all the time and ask me about the bench or the mural.
Oh, that's cool.
So the walkers appreciate it.
Yeah.
Maybe you should break the walk up into smaller parts.
Yeah. So do we want to think about dividing the walk up into small parts, coming up with some sections, maybe based on geography, or and then
something like
creating those
that.
lists?
Accessibility.
Because some of them can be walking tours and others can be driving tours.
Exactly. You could have situations where it's just inaccessible for some people to see them, even from public space, for whatever reason. So we could mark that in some way. It's too bad we can't do a thing like, here is your mural passport. And you walk along the murals and you get your passport stamped. And at the end, you have 10 stamps in your passport,
Well, we can make it like a scavenger hunt, there can be some kind of a fun thing, and you collect photos in your phone,
That would be better. I mean, the private, even the businesses who to spend their day stamping passports.
Yeah.
Especially private, people knocking on the door.
Oh, no, you wouldn't want to do something like that. But if it's just off the top of my head, suppose you chose 10 murals that were definitely public and very visible, and you have someone there from AMAC or some volunteer with their rubber stamp, and the mural person guide comes up and says, here's my passport, stamp it. And you do that for an hour or two, just as a fun thing.
Do that, with the photos on a certain day, and have people, like during the Arts and Music Festival, we could have somebody with a stamp book. And, people bring their phone and say, okay, these are the murals that I have, and have the murals numbered in a way so that you can say, okay, so I have murals, 6 through 20, that I have photos of, and there's your proof that you've seen all these murals.
Yeah, but how do you keep people from sharing the photos?
Well,
suppose one person goes out and takes all the pictures and then shares them with their friends.
That's we just have to hope that people are going to be honest about it. I mean, it's not like they're winning any major prize or anything.
Well, and so I'm thinking, since we it's not like we're going to offer a prize, but just sort of thinking about where we are in terms of social media and everything, maybe we need to come up with a hashtag about the mural walk or whatever, and then encourage people to take pictures and post them to social media with the hashtag that we're Athens Mural Walk or something like that.
Yeah, that's a good idea.
Lots of possibilities here.
Yeah, I think that too could end up being picked up by the Athens Convention and Visitors Bureau, and recirculated and through other social media sites. So maybe coming up with a hashtag that would encourage people to post them.
Well, something, if we did want to give out a prize, I've been talking with the Makerspace, and in addition to the really nice keys to the city that we're going to do that are going to be metal, and they're going to be given to special guests of the city, the Makerspace can also make copies of the key, but in actually recycled plastic. So it would be plastic from the city that has been melted down and turned into a copy of the key. And that can be, a fun thing that people could win if they, collect enough images of murals, or I'm just throwing that out there as an idea.
So, well, Josh, where do you sorry, go ahead, Carol.
Oh, just a question for Josh. On the list, does it indicate if it's private, retail, or public?
On which list? Are you talking about on my list or?
On any list.
On any list. I mean, are you asking if we should be designating that in the walk itself?
Yes, because I think that it's, well, I don't know why I think that. It's just that I think people should know if they're going to look at a private house as opposed to some big public space.
Mm-hmm.
That's kind of where I'm coming from.
Yeah, I think that information could be included in a way. Nancy Stevens and her team, she's working with a great team and they've, custom programmed all this. So if we wanted to be able to sort the different murals in the walk based on, versus public murals versus private murals versus, other kinds of murals, we can probably do that. Let me show you real quick the template here. So for every mural, we have to fill out this form. So we need to.
Oh, okay.
Yep, we need to have the name of the mural, an address or GPS coordinates, 1 to 2 sentences describing, the stop, and that for each one. Mm-hmm. And they handle all the details once we give them this. And we also give them a photograph of each mural or 2 photographs of each one. And they handle all the programming, the design, putting in the GIS data, and the app interface.
Wow.
Mm-hmm.
So once we come up with our list of the murals we want, then comes the research phase, getting all the right info we want, the contextual info, getting it, make sure it's accurate. I will have to then get the photographs, which I can help make, or there are a couple other people who can help make photographs, and then they can put it all together. So hopefully that clarifies the process. And I have no doubt Nancy would be able to help us, designate public versus private and introduce some sorting in there probably.
As we're talking about this, suddenly I'm thinking, rather than calling them private, perhaps it's, we could call it residential.
Mm-hmm.
Mm-hmm.
That's just a minor thing, but it might more accurately, because somebody might read private and think, well, is it in their house? You know what I mean?
Or can we go to that one?
Can we? And residential may make them think that as well, but there's something about private that's not very inviting.
Definitely. That's a great point.
So I think there's something to be said for breaking it up into the different sort of geographic regions.
Mm-hmm.
And so how do you, what do you think needs to happen next, Josh? I mean, I know you were saying, shall we narrow it down, but it seems like it needs one more sort, perhaps.
Yeah. If we're going to do it by geographic region, should I sort it by region? And then we pick some murals for each of those regions at our next meeting? Or is there potential, before we even go there, is there potentially another way we want to organize the murals? Or does geography make sense based on what I'm hearing?
I think it makes a lot of sense.
Yeah.
Okay. All right.
In fact, I don't see any other practical way to do it.
Yeah.
You're talking about walking tours or even a short drive. It seems like we would want to cluster some together to make it convenient. But there could be different clusters. So
right. East side, west side.
A, B, C, or D.
Mm-hmm.
Mm-hmm.
I don't know.
Well, and it would be a good idea to make sure that there's a way to connect them all, because there will be some people, like elderly people, who can't do the walking tours but can still drive from mural to mural. Or have somebody drive them around the tours.
Exactly.
Mm-hmm. Well, yeah, I think I can mention this to Nancy, but I agree. I think it's a good idea and makes a lot of sense. So as far as the geographic regions, we want to perhaps divide these into east side, west side, uptown. What else?
Campus?
Do we want campus?
South side.
South side. What's that, Kelly?
County. I mean, if we're going to go to Nelsonville and Gloucester and
Mhm.
Well, then wouldn't they maybe get their own, like Nelsonville? And that's what I was going to say, depending on beyond Nelsonville and Athens. And I think I saw on your screen that there's some like, Gloucester and so forth, but where would we put those elsewhere? You know what I mean? Like, is it really just Athens with its quadrants or whatever, Nelsonville, and then other in the county? Or are there quite a few in some other spots, whether it's Albany or Gloucester? I'm not.
So on the list I have so far, I believe there's one big one that I know of in Gloucester.
Right.
One or two in Albany, but I don't know much about them. I'd have to do some digging.
Yeah.
And I don't think there are currently any. All these are in Athens City.
There's at least one big one in Nelsonville.
Mm-hmm. Yeah,
several.
Nelsonville has several. Barry O'Keefe painted a few of them.
Right.
There's one on the back of Starbrick and Nelsonville TV and Cable, and so Nelsonville could have its own.
Do you have the?
Yeah, that's what I was thinking.
The car, the rail car, listed for Nelsonville.
Oh, I don't think I do. Put that in there. Mm-hmm.
And another suggestion is in terms of naming the areas of Athens, I suggest that you go to the new planned, comprehensive plan, and use those titles. Like Athens, my neighborhood is North Hill.
Yeah, maybe.
Yeah.
I knew that that's where you're going to go, Carol, and I think that that's a good idea as well. I think while we're still transitioning to that, maybe we put like in parentheses what we're sort of more, those of us who've been here for a longer time, are used to referring to different areas, more generally like Far East Side,
right?
Near East Side, just in as a like slash. Do you know what I mean?
Mm-hmm.
Because I know that I was just trying to think of what were they going to call the Far East Side, and I can't even think of it right now. So, yeah.
That's something to think about. And I guess a question I have for the group is, I'm fairly familiar with these neighborhoods, but is there like an official street or an official map where we have neighborhoods designated? For example, Carol, where you live, I used to live up by you on Forest Street, and I wasn't sure whether I was west or east side. I was in between.
Yeah.
Neither.
So
North Hill.
Yeah, North. So, for some of these, we might have to, I'll make a list of some that I'm not quite sure about that are on borderlines, and we'll just look at those individually.
I'd say it's just a matter of figuring out, if there's a center mural, which ones are the most reachable. Mm-hmm. There's some metrics for figuring out what's considered walkable. So that might be an interesting way to go about it. I know that when I applied for grants related to playgrounds, we had a standard for what was considered walkable for a family to get to a playground, and it was a certain number of streets within a certain. That's a little bit more stringent, but if you think about what would be considered walkable for an area, we also have the ward maps. City councils and the wards. It's very simple as far as a breakdown of certain areas.
Right.
I am a fan of, let's start with making the Athens centric mapping part, and then move out from there. Stay with the charge for this group, but working with the Visitors Bureau or whoever for like that other category, because if somebody's going to come specifically for this, they're going to want to know what else is similar. And I think if we had one packet that includes all of it, we're much more likely to pick and choose kind of what I want to do. What's drivable, what's walkable, what zone. I think it can be broken down really well. So you've got a great starter document here.
Yeah, definitely.
Good job, Josh.
Thank you. Yeah. I've got one or two more people to reach out to just to get I want to start with the most amount of data possible before we start condensing. But I do think this list probably has a lot of the big ones that we'd want to feature and covers a lot of different neighborhoods. So what I'll start to do is I'll come up with a rough list I'll sort these by neighborhood and geographic region. And then what I'll try to do is get that out before the next meeting so you can see it beforehand and are familiar with it. And then maybe during the meeting, we can start to hash out how we want it to look a little more, but it's going to be a process, clearly. Yeah.
Great.
Thank you, Josh. Great work.
Thank you.
Thank you, Josh. This is awesome.
It's tremendous. Thank you so much.
No problem. Thank you all for the feedback.
Yeah. Okay, the next item on the agenda, item B, is review the ordinance. And I communicated with Chelsea, and we've decided to move that to May because she had done so much of the editing and everything on that document. It seems to make the most sense to bump that to next month. So we're going to skip down. Item C.
Beth? I'd like to make a couple of comments about that. Now for people to think about for next month.
Okay. Do they have all of this? They don't have all of this that she included in the scripted.
Well, no. And do you know what P and D mean?
No.
I don't.
Right. So
I'm trying to figure out what they have in common. But regardless of that, just in looking over the ordinance myself, and did you all find the ordinance? That's the first question. You know how to find it. Josh says yes. Kelly? Yeah.
Yeah, it's in the drive.
Right.
Yeah.
And part of this language has already been updated, like the number of people on the commission. And that was what Chelsea was talking about when she said that in the legislative updates, there would be a review of how that stands now. How many people are on each commission, who drops off when, and so on. I'm trying to... to me, some of these things that she has put on her notes, which you don't all have, but I think it would be helpful for this list to be sent out to all the commissioners to prepare for next month's meeting.
I'll ask her to do that then.
Okay, I think that would be very, very helpful. And as I went through her notes, could think of lots of different ways to explain some of the things that might be kind of a light bulb of, yeah, that's collaboration. We did. And that sort of thing. Like she talks about that most of the public art that we have has been things that people have come to us and said, I would like to do. Well, part of the reason that the majority is that way is that we don't have funds just to come up with projects and say, if you do this, Art will give you a handful of money. So that's not the way it works. However, there certainly have been cases, like it mentions the photographic project. And if Josh hadn't been a commissioner, I don't know if our involvement would have been the same as it was. I think that's true collaboration.
Well, I think, Carol, we have to keep in mind that my sense is that these notes were really, these are talking points for her. Now, I'm going to suggest she share them and maybe she can provide a little bit more explanation, right? But I don't think until, I think we should, since everybody doesn't have this to look at right now, we just put it off till May, send it around, and then we get to hear what she's really means. These could be notes to herself, really, that she was going to use to guide her discussion is what I'm thinking.
I'm sure the D&P is secret to her.
Well, we'll find out. Yeah. Okay. So now moving on to item C, under 5. So AMAC member to attend the APRD advisory board meeting. So Chelsea sent out the schedule on Thursday, April 8th. And Josh and I have made a switch, so I'm going to go tomorrow night. So that means Scott Thompson, if you're listening, I'll need to get an invite to that meeting tomorrow night for the APRD.
I believe that meeting is the 22nd.
Yeah, there was a meeting moved back.
Oh, okay. Because she did say this was an unusual month because it's usually the 4th Thursday, and the 4th Thursday comes after the 3rd Wednesday. But 1, 2, 3, she miscalculated. So it's the 22nd?
It is the 22nd.
Yeah, that's my understanding.
I'm presenting on that Thursday and I have an invite for it. So.
Then you would know. Okay, well, I can still do it, Josh.
Yeah, I'm a prisoner for the next few weeks.
Oh,
I'm
yeah.
sorry.
Yep, that's fine.
Hey, if everybody that needs invited to that will just send me a reminder, that would be fantastic.
Okay, will do. So she wanted me to be sure to remind you all that the purpose of this new responsibility, she said she felt she forgot to add that or explain it. And that is, and we discussed this, I felt like, but it's to strengthen the relationship between AMAC and APRD advisory board, because let's face it, it starts with the A and that's us. So I think this is a really good move. She also points out that really the purpose is to fulfill our duty of several purposes, powers and duties laid out in the ordinance, and just to create more opportunities for collaboration and some transparency between the two groups. So I think it's a win all the way around. And we'll get going with that. I think I would assume that anybody else who had any concerns about dates has been in communication with Chelsea to rearrange things based on the schedule she sent out. So, okay, next item, we're going on to item number 6, commission action items. Letter A, new member handbook items. So she's saying, and we talked about this, I think, years ago, but she was talking about getting a new member handbook together to help acclimate new commissioners as they come on board. And she asked if we could talk about points that we want to make sure to express to new commissioners. I feel like if I got out my famous blue folder that you all know that I've been lugging around for 11 years, there would be meeting minutes that I could find in there where we started talking about that. And I'm pretty sure it was with Bob. And yeah. What, Andrew, do you have I thought maybe you had a thought or something.
No, I'm thinking that's probably pretty accurate.
Yeah. So, and I can look for that. But she had a couple of ideas, like right off the bat, of things that we want, like putting yourself back into, when I was a new commissioner, what would I like to know right away? And this would also be in part helpful for recruiting new commissioners. But the first thing she lists are the ordinances. So the establishment of this what was new commission, and percent for arts. So the history, then policies like the public arts policy and performance art. And then also obviously expectations regarding attendance, contributing to the commission with some work and projects. She has here what AMAC's role is. Again, that's notes for herself, I think, but I think that's sort of all inclusive of all of these things are really speaking to that point. So one more thing she had is get a photo, bio, and contact information ? And that's mainly it sounds like for historical purposes. She's wondering if we should sort of create a form and then we have the information on file more easily accessible, perhaps, in terms of when people came on board. So then we also know when they're leaving, what their background is. I think that's a good idea as well.
I think that would be great to add to the website.
Oh, are there other instances of that with some other commissions?
I don't know. We could start a trend.
Certainly with council.
Yeah.
Council has that?
Oh, yes. Yeah.
Yeah. Well, and I would think that makes sense.
No way we can hide.
Yeah. And you're elected officials. So I feel like that's a little bit different, right?
No, not really. This is a commission. It's a legal entity. It has powers. It does things with funds. So,
well, let's see if it's.
it's not a private corporation. It's not like Elon Musk can hide, in his penthouse.
Right. And Jeff, I would like to point out, though, that you said it does things with funds. That's always been something that we talk carefully about, right? Because we don't actually have a budget.
No.
So we just make suggestions for how we would love to have access to funds to make art happen versus actually having any sort of authority, because we're always recommending it ultimately to council. Right.
But still, it comes under a fiduciary heading, and actually we're getting off topic here, aren't we?
Yeah.
I just think it's a good idea to put pictures up.
I do too.
Yeah.
Well, let's see. I'm not sure it's entirely our decision to make. I would think that there's that's probably something that I'm not sure which office that would go through, but whoever ultimately controls the keys to the web kingdom for the city, maybe that's related to Andrew.
I would defer to Scott most of the time as far as the look and feel of the website, though.
Yeah.
A lot of the time there's a lot of, jockeying for position as far as what should be the most prominent. And I think Scott does a great job of keeping the balance between all of the different functions of the city are important, but which ones need to be highlighted at which times.
Yeah. And it seems to me, generally speaking, certainly I know like with the university, they want branding to be very consistent, right? So our pictures should be consistent, which means if the pictures are going to be consistent, then seems to me it may require an investment to have somebody take consistent pictures and so on and so forth. So we can make a note of that, and it can certainly, Josh, I'm sure, has got it in our minutes, but
I think it's worth discussing.
I think it's an interesting idea. I know that we have enough problems trying to get our employee pictures, let alone boards and commissions and everybody else. So,
yeah.
But
I recognize that, but I do think that if people are considering, if they're interested in proposing a project, perhaps that would help them to know who's on the commission and connect the faces with the project. And I just think it gives a little bit more visibility and personal connection to the community if they've got the pictures. And that's basically why City Council started doing it. They didn't do that when I was on council. That tells you something.
Right.
Yeah.
We don't want her picture on there.
Of course, Ohio University's been doing it for years. So,
Right.
Right. And
you get your picture taken there, whether you want it or not, or you don't have a job. It's that simple. Well, it's a quid pro quo. You either get a snapshot or you don't have to work here. There's plenty of space down at the unemployment office for another person. So,
okay. So we're going to keep moving on here. So in those basic categories for a handbook, let's first of all, handbook, it sounds like everybody's in agreement. It sounds like a good idea.
Yes.
Yep.
Okay, so we need to say, yes, we want to start moving forward. Probably her next question will be, who wants to take it on? And I will, unless somebody is jumping right now and saying, I would love to do it. And we can, yeah, it's remarkably silent, isn't it?
Crickets.
Okay.
We're missing 3 commissioners.
It's true. It's true. But that list of, I'll send it to you too, Josh, so that, because I read it kind of quickly, so you can see, and you can include that in the minutes so that people can be thinking about, okay, what else would we include other than ordinances, policies, expectations, and the overall role of AMAC, which I think is sort of at the top of all of it. Okay. Okay. Moving on. Roman numeral 7, announcements and other business. She wanted me to point out that there's a group that's based at Stewart's that will be presenting on an anti-racism in the arts webinar. Let's see, if you go to stewarts-operahouse.org/events/anti-racism-in-the-arts. That will get you there. Probably you can just go to events at Stewart's Opera House and you'll see that. And I think it's also on Facebook. So if you look for Stewart's Opera House on Facebook, you can find that. Let's see. Also on here, it says Josh presenting. Lauren Gunter.
Yes. So if you all remember 6 months back, maybe, Lauren Genter came to speak about the Black Mamas Matter mural project. It was a mural that was going to go up on the side of her house converted into her office building that's next to the Village Bakery. She's a midwife. And
oh, yeah.
Yep. And she actually ended up selling the building. However, Eclipse Company Town has agreed to house the mural. So the progress is that the mural surfaces have been cut, primed, painting has started. It's being painted off site, and then they're going to install it during Black Maternal Health Week in April.
Cool.
A website has been made and is ready to launch that'll direct people interested in supporting organizations actively solving the disparities that inspired the original work.
Wow.
They have had some donors to the GoFundMe and are in the final month for fundraising. So she wanted me to share that link. And let me see if I'll put it in the chat for us.
If the chat cooperates with you this time, I hope.
Yeah, sorry.
Actually, I see it here too. So maybe we both try, one of us will work.
Okay.
There it is.
It's a small, strange gf.me link.
Yeah, I see it.
Yes.
GoFundMe. Yeah.
That looks
Yep.
legit.
Well done.
Oh, yeah. Yep, you got it. Good. Terrific. Well, that's great that it's going to still have a home. And you said cut and primed, and are they doing it on wood panels of some sort, or?
Yeah, from what I recall, it was on plywood that they were going to seal off.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
And where in the company town is it going to be displayed?
I don't know exactly where. Yeah.
Okay.
But I can find out.
Yeah, no, that's great. I'm glad it's still happening. I kind of forgot about that. But I'm glad the mural's still happening. All right. One more item, and announcement item is a new commissioner. So the mayor has received two interested parties to replace Ann Judy, who has stepped down from the commission after her service. And since he's not here, we'll have to wait till next time to get an update from him on the status of those folks that are interested. So I think, yeah, sorry, my bad. Other business, Andrew, I saw your hand first.
I wanted to mention that Passion Works on Saturday the 24th will be selling years and years worth of puppets and all sorts of other goodies from Halloween's past at Armory Park. So if there was something that you thought was really cool, you have the opportunity to buy it. It's a kind of a one-day sale opportunity. So I had my eyes on some of those little bumblebees that were out there 2 years ago. Those were pretty neat. So.
Yeah. And I think, is it tomorrow night that they're doing some chalk drawings or something to advertise for it in the parking lot, maybe right next to Passion Works? I think Patty tweeted something about that last night, maybe.
I hadn't seen that, but
hadn't seen that. Okay. It's probably somewhere on Facebook. It's on Twitter, I think, is where I saw it under Passion Works. Carol, did you have something?
Yes, I have two somethings.
Okay.
First, the Ohio Arts Council, their Governor Award for the Arts is going to be virtual this year. I don't know if you've received notifications of it, but it's on Facebook and YouTube on May 10th at noon. Okay.
At noon?
Yes.
Okay.
We usually have boogered up there to go to this event, and
right.
So I thought people might be interested, especially if we're considering applying for next year,
right?
Which will be the 20th anniversary of AMAC.
Oh,
perfect.
Yeah, it is perfect, isn't it?
Okay. So my other announcement is a personal one. And that is to inform you that on June 1st, I'm moving to California.
What?
Whoa, what?
So I will be stepping down from AMAC.
My gosh.
After 19 years. And I'm at this point, I have a 1-year lease on a house, a small part of a house in Manhattan Beach. Watch the sunset every friggin' night on the ocean.
Sounds terrible.
A half a block from my daughter and both granddaughters. So
that's wonderful.
Say no to that. Now I have a 1-year lease on purpose, so that at that point, I can decide if I just have to come back to Athens or if I'm happy to stay in the sunset of Manhattan Beach.
Wow.
So I'm excited, scared, confused, frantic.
Wow.
It also will be the very beginning of my 9th decade, and it seemed like a hell of a way to celebrate.
Wow.
There you
That's
go.
Wonderful. Good for you.
Gosh.
How exciting.
It is so exciting. I mean, I'm happy and sad. I think
I am too.
First.
And that's why I had called Steve today to tell him.
I see.
Or I started, a few people know it, but very few, mostly just my neighbors.
Well, you know, Janice Evans' mother lives there in Manhattan Beach.
Really?
Yeah.
Oh, how cool. My best friend from elementary school through high school, her brother lives there.
Wow.
And we talked yesterday and she said, I'll be there in July to be your first visitor.
Oh, that's
wow.
Cool.
I'm really excited about that, but a huge change for me.
Wow.
But I'm doing it.
Good for you, Carol.
Yeah, that's
My
fun.
gosh.
Beach. You and Joe can walk the beach every day.
Wow.
He's going to have some major adjustments. But walking the beach is not going to be his least favorite thing.
Yeah.
Exactly.
Yep.
Well,
And Leslie and Paul have 2 dogs that they take to the beach every day of the world.
yeah.
Oh, wonderful.
Wow. Well,
Wow.
Carol,
I will be at the next, I'll log in for the next meeting.
okay.
It'll be my last meeting.
Okay.
Wow.
So it's quite possible that Steve has a spot for his 2 applicants.
Right.
Okay.
That makes the
Okay.
decision easier.
Yeah.
Well, Carol, this is shocking, but exciting, and
And I had no hint when I was last talking to you. This
Yeah.
almost happened in 4 days' time.
really, I was going to say, I mean, it's not like you'd have to have told me, but I was at your house like a week ago.
No, I don't. But my son-in-law was walking his dogs and walked past the house, and the guy was putting the for rent sign in the yard. And he called to my daughter and said, I think this is a sign. We need to get this house for your mom.
Oh my goodness.
That's lovely.
My goodness. Well, Carol, as Andrew said in the chat here, I mean, the time that you've invested in the arts in this community is, and your leadership, your dedication, it's been remarkable. And
well, I got to tell you, Manhattan Beach has an arts commission, and
I'm sure. Yeah.
meetings, and I already know some of the officials there. I've been there many times.
sure.
And so I will take the opportunity to get ideas for Athens and shoot them back to you.
That's
Oh,
great.
wonderful.
'Cause,
Yeah, you better stay connected with us.
yeah, computers,
Yeah,
you
definitely.
can't tell where people are or tell.
Yeah.
So
Wow. Gosh, well, we've got to figure out, I mean, you can't just you can't just walk off into the sunset, although that's kind of literally what you're going to do.
that is literally what I'm going
Kind of
to
a
do.
social distancing celebration.
Yeah, we do. Celebrate your service, and my goodness. Wow. Wow. Congratulations, Carol.
Yeah.
Thank you, thank you, thank you.
Gosh.
Love you all. It's
Yeah.
been a wonderful thing for me. I mean, it started from being on city council and saying to the mayor, what can we do more about the arts? And he was a fan, that's Mayor Abel. And so starting to build from there. And so it was a great transition from being voted off of council and still staying on Arts Commission saying, I'm still here.
Wow.
Anyway,
Fantastic.
Yeah.
Carol, it's been great to learn from you and see all the impact of your efforts. My parents live in Redondo Beach and my grandmother too. I grew up there, so
You
you'll have
guys
to get
have
together
to
with
send
them.
me all these people's names. I will go see them. I'll knock on their doors and say, I told my sister that my goal is to meet somebody on a level more than, hello, my name is Carol, each day that I'm there, so that by the end of a year, I have 365 good friends.
Oh, that's a good
Friends
goal
here.
to have.
Because every friend I have is in Athens. Family's in LA, but my friends are here, and I'm used to, if I go into some place, knowing at least half the people in the room.
Right.
It's going to be a big change for me.
Wow.
A little training. When I was 50, I went to England for a year. And so I kind of know how that feels and how you begin to adapt. That's helped a lot in just trying to straighten my brain out the last 4 days.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Wow. Well, let me know, Carol, if there's some way I can help you as you're getting
Well,
yourself.
if anybody knows of somebody that would just like to have a partially furnished house to live in for a year, I've thought about renting it. I've thought about just closing it up. I just am not sure about that. But if somebody had a person that is looking,
I seriously might have somebody.
All
I'll call you tomorrow, Carol.
right, I'll be here tomorrow. Exciting. I just have so much to do to get ready for somebody to move in the house.
Yeah, you sure do.
That being said, there are people for hire, so
Yeah.
it's all good.
Wow. Wow.
Yeah.
So that's why I talked so much tonight, because I knew my hours were numbered in sharing my thoughts.
I gotcha. Well, that makes sense. My goodness, I'm not sure. This is one of those things where it's like, okay, how can we follow that?
Well, by adjourning.
Yes, I'm thinking that unless anybody has anything else, our next meeting is Wednesday, May 12th at 5:30 via Zoom. So do I have a motion to adjourn?
I move we adjourn.
Carol, do I have a second?
Second that.
Josh, thank you. All right. We are adjourned. Thank you.